Today is Tuesday, Parashat Shemini. The parasha of this week includes in it the laws of Kashrut in terms of what types of food we're allowed to eat and not allowed. So for animals, only animals that have split hoofs and chew their cud, which means like the cows or the sheep, they have split hoofs. They chew their cud also, so those are kosher to eat. A camel or a rabbit or pork, all these animals do not have these two requirements, and therefore those will not be kosher to eat. Then regarding fish, any fish that has scales and fins is kosher. Typically, if a fish has scales, for sure it has fins. So if you can see the scales on the skin of a fish in a fish store, and the skin has those scales on there, then you know for sure it had fins, and that would be a kosher fish to eat. Of course, shellfish, etc. are not kosher. And then for birds, what is interesting in birds, it doesn't give us a defining criteria to tell us these are the birds that are kosher, but it goes the other way. It tells us a list of birds that are not kosher, because in truth, the majority of the birds in the world are kosher, but there is some of them, a specific list that are listed in the parasha that are not kosher to eat. And because the majority are kosher, they took the short path of listing the ones who are not kosher. But since it's very hard for us today to know what are these names of birds and what do they represent, then basically on birds, we just eat those that are the tradition in the specific country or the specific community that are known as kosher, that has been handed down from generation to generations as kosher birds to eat. So these are the laws in general of Kashrut. However, the pasuk that refers to making sure to eat kosher food speaks of it in terms of sanctity, to be kadosh, and also it says, "Venitmetem," do not be defiling yourself in terms of tum'ah by eating non-kosher food. But nitmetem bam, it says like venitamtem, which means a person who consumes non-kosher food creates a certain dulling. It dulls the ability to connect with spirituality in the way of Torah. So that's why if a person wants to connect better with Torah and to connect better with Hashem, the best way is to stop eating non-kosher food. When a person is careful with kosher food, it brings in sanctity into the person, and it opens up sort of the channels to be able to connect with divine spirituality. Now, its concept could be understood in a simple way. Hashem created the world. He knows what are the foods that are conducive to connecting with spirituality, and He told us, these are the foods you consume, and these are the foods that you refrain and that you should not have, should not eat. And that has to be followed. Now, there are many situations where people feel that they observe the laws, but actually it's problematic. For instance, going to a non-kosher restaurant. Even if you consume kosher fish, that fish could have been cooked in a pot where there was non-kosher meat before, and it could have absorbed some of that flavor, and that would become, of course, asur. There are many foods nowadays that have combination of ingredients that are not kosher. Could be even bread that has in it certain types of like lard or certain types of ingredients that are not kosher. Now, insects also are something that is very, very much to be refrained from. Now, when we eat leafy vegetables in a kosher home, we make sure to check that there are no small insects hiding in there somewhere. We wash it and make sure that it's clear of any bugs, because bugs are also something definitely not kosher, and some non-kosher restaurants would not be as careful, and there could be certain small bugs hiding in some of the lettuce or some of the other salads. So all these laws of kashrut are to be adhered to very strictly, and as you're careful with kosher food, you're really opening the channels to be able to connect with spirituality. So it's not just an effect on the body, a physical body, aspect, but there's also a spiritual aspect to consuming only kosher foods. Baruch Adonai le'olam, amen ve'amen.